is there evidence that these beings were here prior and that they left, or they left us to figure things out until maybe we evolved to a level where they could contact us again? These are the skull of Tutankhamun and his brother. This is the bust of Nefertiti, all showing elongated heads. Typically, in ancient Egyptian tradition, the sun gods had very elongated head, and the semi-sun gods, which were the progenitor of the normal humans having babies with sun gods, would have not so elongated head. This is a skull that was found in South America, in temples in South America. This is enormous in proportion and cannot be the result of binding of the head. The reason why that is not possible is that when you bind the head of a child so that you deform the skull features, then this binding of the head deforms the skull features but does not increase the volume of the skull cavity. In this case, the volume of the skull cavity is almost twice the size of a normal human being. Now, if there was only one of these that were found, you would say, well, maybe it was an anomaly, maybe it was a deformity. Well, there's all sorts of things that makes it not so. For instance, the jaw bones, the feature on the cheeks bones are not Homo sapien. They're more of the Neanderthal and mix of various evolution in the evolution chain that we believe is linear in evolution of man, and they shouldn't be all combined in the same skull. The other problem is that there's not just one of these skulls that was found, but multiple skulls that were found like this in temples around South America and Mexico. This one is a little bit different, as you see. It's not as pointed. Still enormous, and still has some of these unusual features in their facial features and the jaw features. Others found in Mexico is these melon heads, where those actually have even a larger volume capacity inside the head, very large eye sockets, and a very strange structure of the skull. This is not the largest skull ever found. The largest volumic cavity of the skull occurred on this, that was found with this skull. This is like the M kind of structure skull, where the hemispheres seem to have developed independent, and very, very large skull. The front portion of the skull are missing, but the plates of the skull are all there, and they're very large in volume. So these are physical evidence you can touch of these beings having been around in ancient antiquity. You find them, stories about these beings, everywhere. You find them in Mayan tradition, Inca tradition. They both call them the sun gods. In the Egyptian tradition, in the Chinese tradition, calls them the sun gods as well. The Japanese tradition, pretty well all around the world. In the Mayan tradition as well, you find grids like so that have mathematical information on them that are thought to be calendars, very precise calendars about the changes in our solar system, and interesting symbols that have these vortices that are interacting. And when you look at the math from these codes, you find that they match the 64 tetrahedron growth structure of space-time that we've been discussing. This is some of the oldest tradition on Earth. It has very, very ancient writing. These plates this plate in particular is a creation myth in which the sun gods come to the earth and gives man the black, it's called a black sun in those traditions. It's been translated in various other traditions, for instance in the Quran, as the black stone, okay? And it's described as a very highly radiating sun, like a sun in a box, like a desktop black hole. And the tradition talks about the sun gods coming to the top of the mountain and the humans going to meet the sun gods, and the sun gods bestowing this on the humans. Then you find in these Sumerian traditions that these eventually built very complex, very sophisticated. This is where we're actually bombing right now, Iraq and Iran location, where very, very sophisticated pyramidal structures were built, ziggurats and so on, that were very sophisticated building and very large building structures. This is a view from one of them from above. Many of those are being destroyed as we speak. Many of these artifacts in these traditions are disappearing in museums in those regions as we speak. If you look around those regions, you find other things that are large anomaly. This is one of the largest, most amazing anomaly we have on Earth. It is the stones that were the foundation of an ancient temple on which the Roman Empire erected a more recent temple, afterwards used the old stones as foundations. Let me show you the relationship of scale of these stones. This is a person, okay? And this is the stone, okay? It's in approximately 22 feet of elevation and has been raised on smaller stones, still very large stone, but smaller stones that holds them up. There's 3 of them, okay, that are remaining there at this point. They're extremely large. In fact, they weigh in excess, these one there weigh in excess of 800 tons, okay? And this one here, that's in a quarry about a half a mile from the temple there, okay, is in excess of 1,000 tons. Okay, those are extremely large stones that seem to have been moved with ease in antiquity, and that doesn't happen very easily. Other artifacts are found around those regions. In this case is a little pot that has an insert that's made out of copper and a little rod. And when you put the thing together and put grape juice in it, it becomes a battery. And it's evidence that they were using these batteries to electroplate things. And so the batteries were found, and they're from a certain epoch that makes them approximately 2,000 years old, except that there is electrolysis that was made on objects that were found that are much older than that, up to 4,000 years old. And these must have been plated with the same principle. So there's evidence that these people were using electricity at the time. This is very ancient, advanced technology. One of these plates that talks about advanced mathematics has a set of geometric structures combined with these mathematics. And sure enough, when you look closely at this geometric structures on those tablets, which are, you know, in fractal growth, they match perfectly the 64 tetrahedron grid when it's on its side. And here is the match. Amazingly, even with the little lines that go in the middle and so on. Perfect match. The tablets describes a geometric progression of the separation of space.